And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fix your marketing funnel. I'm going to explain what that means here in just a little bit. We're going to set clear goals and targets for your business. We're going to map out your strategy. We're going to answer some really prevalent questions that a lot of our clients are asking. A lot of people are just asking in general about the market and where search is headed. And our goal is to set you guys up for a massive 2026. 2025 was not the best year for contractors. This was probably the hardest year post-COVID that we've had. A lot of different reasons for that. Some economic, some with the housing market factored in, new equipment for HVAC, tariffs, whether they're going to have tariffs, not have tariffs. It caused a lot of angst and anxiety with homeowners, and a lot of them just aren't spending as much as they had previously. So there's a lot of things that impacted the trades, and you guys, some of you guys may have felt that. Some of you guys may still have a great year, but I want to make sure that you guys are set up for success. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to have a bunch of free resources for you guys. So we already did this. Some of these, like I said, it's 110 slides. We're going to go a little fast. Most of you guys that are on this, you probably know. I'm hoping you at least know who I am and what company I have. But we also have a industry-leading podcast. If you like listening to podcasts, we actually have over 4 million downloads now, so it's a little outdated. And we've won some awards for some of the work we've done on the digital marketing agency side. All right. Biggest marketing trends of 2026. So most of you guys probably know this already, but costs keep rising. They keep going up. There's more places to search. There's more places to put your hard-earned revenue into, and costs keep rising. So we're going to talk about some strategies and some ways for you to execute on some things inside your business so you can minimize that spend. Consumers are searching more than ever before because now it is easier than ever before. And a lot of you guys probably do the same thing with your business and some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. Marketing automation and layering in really marketing automation / AI could be number 3, where it's your superpower. We're going to talk about some strategies and some ways to leverage that. AI, automating follow-up and discovery. It's kind of tied in with number 3. Pricing transparency. If any of you guys follow me on Facebook, or any of you guys were at the tap, I know a couple of you guys that were in the chat have been to the Tap Into the Future event, or maybe you've listened to Marcus Sheridan, who has a couple books out. They Ask You Answer was the initial one. Endless Customers is his newer version. Pricing transparency is becoming a competitive advantage. We're going to talk more about that later. And then operational efficiency is the new marketing edge. And again, we're going to go into that stuff later. So here's what we're going to answer throughout this webinar. Why do I keep spending? Why does it feel like I keep spending more on marketing but not growing faster, or not growing as fast as I think I should be? How do I build demand instead of having to just compete for it when it's hot or it's cold or it's XYZ? Like right now in the Northwest, there's a big flood. Instead of having to wait for demand to hit your business, we're going to build demand, and we're going to have demand literally at our fingertips all year round, so we can stop having to worry about what are we going to do come shoulder season. What's killing my marketing ROI before leads even reach my texts? And what's the right marketing mix and budget for my 2026 goals? But before we do that, we have to understand, and this topic does not get talked about enough in the trades. There is a big problem with people not understanding what a marketing funnel is and how that works with your homeowners and how they're searching. I think a lot of business owners think customer has problem, customer goes to Google, customer selects company. And the real truth is customer figures out they have a problem. They may talk to someone they know. They may ask some questions. They may go to a ChatGPT and look for some information of like, how do I know that I should call someone? Or how do I know I have this problem? Then they start researching companies. Then they might call a couple based on their reputation and their reviews. And then they decide based on the interaction they have with that company, should they hire them? It's a lot messier than people understand. But contractors, and this is not just contractors, I'm just speaking to you guys because you guys all are contractors, is everybody throws all, and this is not self-serving because we focus on the bottom of the funnel with our services. Contractors in general focus all on the bottom of the funnel. They throw all their money at the bottom of the funnel. So you're stuck on this treadmill where you're constantly spending money at the bottom of the funnel on Google ads, local service ads, even things like social media ads, or it could be Bing ads, anything that's bottom of the funnel where the customer's making a decision and you're not bringing top of funnel awareness. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here. So our goal with this webinar is to, first of all, fix your funnel and have you start thinking differently. So that way you start focusing on how you can attract more customers to your business yourself without relying on Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, et cetera, whatever the platform is. We want customers to always look for you, which comes to branding. And this is the challenge with that, is we're constantly getting leads and there's just a lot of holes in the bucket. There's just a lot of holes in the bucket. I'm not going to go over this entire analogy because I did not. There's a couple of things I could have changed on this, but leads come in and we have a lot of holes, and we need to fix those holes in order to have a self-sustaining company. The ones that you guys see that are like, wow, how did they grow so fast? There's a reason they grew fast. They fix the holes in their bucket and they have a full funnel strategy. So what does a funnel look like for the trades? I want you guys to think of your marketing like a funnel that you'd use to pour oil into an engine. At the top, you're pouring in everyone who might eventually need your services. So for most of you, and I didn't ask if you did commercial or residential, but most of you guys are probably residential homeowners. So we'll use that as an example. So you're wanting to pour everyone into the awareness stage that could potentially need your services, whether it's today or 6 months or 6 years from now. Because these are people who just bought a house, or the AC is getting old, or they're searching as why is my drain kind of slow at 10 o'clock at night. They're not ready to call you just yet. They're just becoming aware that there might be a problem that they have to get solved by a professional. In the middle, after the awareness stage of their problem, they're considering who they want to work with. And so they're checking Google reviews. They're asking their neighbors. They're talking in next door neighborhood groups or local Facebook groups, or they're visiting websites to try to find answers to their questions. They're figuring out who they want to call if and when they're ready to call someone. This is where they decide if you're trustworthy or not. And typically this looks like, and you guys know this on the sales cycle, you get 3 to 5. Usually a homeowner will let like 3 companies in, get 3 bids is kind of what they're taught on a lot of different sites. So they're trying to pick the top 3 options after they're considered who to hire. And at the bottom, these are people that need you literally today. Their AC died and it's 95 degrees outside. The pipe burst. They got to get a plumber out immediately to stop the water. So they're calling someone today. This is the ones that typically you're getting today, and they have a problem and you got to get out there today. Those are no heats, no cools. We got to shut off the water. The electricity's down. Whatever that looks like for your industry, but you're catching people at the moment of panic. And the problem is a lot of us are just fishing at the bottom in the decision stage. And there's only a handful of customers in your market. And by a handful, I would say about 3% of your customers that are actually searching for a provider today. But there's a lot of other people that might be 30, 45, 60, 90 days away from making a decision. Maybe they know because they had a tune-up last year that their AC is getting old. They know they got to replace it, but they're not quite ready to replace it. But they need some information to kind of help them along to get back down to the bottom of this funnel. And the problem is we don't have content. We don't have a strategy to bring them into our world, similar to why you guys are on this webinar. I put a lot of content out online for awareness, consideration, and then we also retarget people with ads at the end, because then we're trying to book a call, get you in a strategy session, and talk about our services. And it's the same premise. And that's why we put out educational information like this, so you guys can decide if you know, like, and trust us before you even decide to get on a call with us. And the same thing can be done on the homeowner side. So as I mentioned, the biggest mistake most people make is they take their entire marketing budget and they put it into the decision stage. And then they wonder why they can't grow, or it doesn't seem to be working. So they move to the next agency thinking that's the fix, and the next agency thinking that's the fix. And it never becomes the fix because we didn't do anything to the middle and the top end of the funnel. And sorry, a couple extra slides here. So what does awareness look like? What channels does that look like for you? And these are things like your social media content, videos, your business page, your personal profile. We'll talk about that more later. Community involvement, your local visibility, doing yard sign contests in your market, getting people to search your brand because they're aware of you from radio ads, TV ads, yard signs, billboards. That is all awareness marketing, or the awareness section of the funnel. So when we're deciding what to put into a budget, it's really important to put something, whatever your budget looks like, and we'll get into how you guys can figure out your numbers later. Put a section of your budget into awareness. So that way you are constantly trying to fill the top of the funnel, retarget people as they go down. When they get to the consideration stage, this is really where your website becomes more important, because you want to have the right types of content on your website to nurture those people and show up in the right spots. This is where reviews and your reputation become super important, because this is where they're starting to decide, does this look like a trustworthy company? This is where having really great images of your team, your trucks, your work, your behind the scenes type footage of you training your team, or bringing in an outside vendor, or having the Christmas parties where people are like, wow, this just seems like a group of people I really like, or I would really like to have work on my house because they seem likable. This is the type of content we want to put in the middle stage, in the consideration stage. Now, if you are running ads like Facebook, or you're doing connected TV or OTT type marketing, this is where you could retarget audiences based on them viewing your website, your social media profiles. You could retarget with your customer list to find other people like that in your market. That's where this stuff was really plays a big part in your overall strategy. And at the bottom, this is Google ads, Bing ads, probably this year ChatGPT ads, local service ads, Google Business Profile, your SEO, everything that goes into the decision stage where they need to hire someone today, they need to make a phone call. And that's really where, as I mentioned earlier, so many people make the mistake, is putting so much of their budget to the bottom and not enough to the top. And we're going to have a really great plan for you guys by the end of this, of how much you should put in each bucket and why. So as we move forward, before we get into, I would say, what the meat of the strategic or the tactical content is going to be, where I'm really sharing like high level strategies on all these different channels, we need to know where we're going. But in order to know where we're going, we have to know where we came from. And one problem I see a lot, and I have a lot of conversations around this, is understanding what happened in your business this last year. Taking the time aside, stopping, especially if you have a lot of hats that you wear in your business, because I've been on calls with people where they have to constantly stop and take phone calls from their techs because they don't have anyone. Find a quiet space and really dig into your numbers. I know some of you guys may be like, oh my God, I'm going to pull up my hair. I'm going to end up looking like Josh. I have no hair. Understanding your numbers and your data is by far the best thing that you can do as a leader and business owner to lead your company into the future, because that data tells a story. And the more you get familiar with that story, the easier this becomes to forecast your growth as you move forward. So before I go too much further into digging into numbers and some metrics that you should be tracking, I want to understand from you guys, what's one thing for you individually on the marketing side or the sales side that moved the needle for you in 2025? So that way other people can learn from you sharing what's worked well for you. Go ahead and put that in the chat when you guys got a minute here. And I'll read some of those out loud as you guys put them in. Oliver, 2 GMB locations. Thank you for sharing. That's been a favorite strategy of mine for about 6 years now. I love that. Who else? What worked really well for you guys? What moved the needle? Word of mouth. Andrew, that's great. I'm actually going to share some information about that because I think that's a very overlooked opportunity for us. Reviews. Hey, Julia. Geolocation pages. Love that, AJ. Al, online pricing. That's a huge one. Nick, pay-per-click. Love it. Monthly mailers. I have heard a kind of a comeback. I've seen more direct mail conversations than I have previously. And I've even talked to a couple of contractors that say they're getting like 8-to-1 in the yellow pages, believe it or not. So referrals, LSA, reviews, transparent pricing, Facebook groups, awesome. All really good stuff, guys. So thanks, John. So with that being said, if these things, as people are putting these things in here, because the next question we're going to have is going to go on the opposite side of the coin, is what things you should have quit sooner that you kept doing too long. Take something from this feedback from your peers and find something that makes sense to you or you haven't heard about, and ask questions about that strategy to try to understand more about why it's working for them and how you can potentially implement it for yourself. Because I know there's a lot of noise online. It's SEO is dead, direct mail is dead, email is dead. Well, I'm here to tell you that all channels work as long as you have a strategy for them. They all work very well. Even lead aggregator sites can work. So take that from the people that are putting this stuff in the chat and see something and take it and run with it for your business for the next year. Try something new. So as I mentioned, what is one thing that you did throughout the year that you realize now you should have quit doing sooner? And put that in the chat when you get a chance. And nobody should quit anything, I guess. And maybe we don't know the answer to that question. That's okay. Jason said PPC. That is one that's challenging. Rigid SEO keyword requirements on websites. Okay. Actually, might want to ask you about that one, AJ. I don't know much about that, but rigid SEO keyword requirements sounds kind of interesting to me. What else? Joey. Facebook ads not super targeted. That's a really good one. It's hard to know that stuff in the moment, but once you learn, these are things that we can build on the next time you decide to do a channel like that. Okay, so not as many things as that we should quit that are working well. So those are things these are questions that you should ask yourself as you're doing your 2026 planning, is how did each of these channels work? And I'm going to share some prompts and some AI stuff that you guys can do to help yourself with that here shortly. So in order to know our 2026 goals, I mentioned we can use AI to help craft your plan. Now, 3+ years ago, you typically needed a business coach or someone that had direct knowledge of finances or really understood numbers, maybe an accountant, a CPA, to really help you with your plan moving forward. And now I know a lot of you guys still do this planning with like Nextstar and some of these other BDR and some of these coaching groups, which is great because it's really good to learn. But you don't always have to wait for that. And if you don't have a coaching organization, or you just maybe don't want to go down that path and you want to do it yourself, feel free to take a screenshot of this. This is a prompt I came up with. You could definitely go more in depth with this prompt than I have, but this prompt is designed to, first of all, get information out of your head, put it into a prompt to help you come up with a strategic plan for yourself based on your revenue, your average ticket prices, your competitors, et cetera, et cetera. And this will also help you understand which marketing activities you're doing now, what your budget should be, and how you can move forward. So some of this is going to take some strategic thinking. So take a screenshot of this, because you can take screenshots, add them to ChatGPT or Claude. I prefer Claude for this type of information just because I think it's better. And then just answer the questions. And then the nice output for you guys. And it's just a nice thought exercise that gets you started. From there, just continue to have a conversation like you would with a consultant. All right, so metrics. These are going to be really high level. There are a lot of metrics to track in a business. We're going to focus on the key core metrics that I've seen that are tried and true. They work very well, and they help you understand your performance. And so I'm going to go left to right. So when it comes to lead and sales, we really have to understand what's happening with the opportunities we're getting. So total calls. This includes the spam. This includes Mrs. Jones calling you 3 times to see what, when her tech is coming. Classify those down from calls to qualified leads That removes all the spam and all the waste. From there, we have to understand how many jobs are booked. That's going to get you your booking percentage for your CSR, so you understand how your team is performing. Then from there, from our total jobs booked, we need to understand how many were sold. That's your technician's performance and their close rate. And by sold, I mean at least $1 more than your service or maintenance fee. If your service fee is $79 to come out, if they sell something above and beyond that, that is considered a job sold. So don't give them credit for the ones that are a service fee or less, because that means they pretty much showed up, gave a diagnostic, and left, which is not helpful for you. Your average ticket, you can certainly break this up between service and install if you want, but a blended average works just fine. And then customer lifetime value, that is a lot more difficult to pull, but with many of you guys, I know some of you guys are on Service Titan, some of you guys are on other softwares that allow you to pull how many times your customers have hired you over a certain period. This can start helping you understand your customer lifetime value. So that way, when you're looking at how much did it cost me to acquire one customer, let's say it's $400, because $400 to $500 is typically the average that we've seen for a number of years. Let's say the first job you get is $500, so you break even, but you know your customer lifetime value is $10,000. Well, that $500 customer, all of a sudden, if we know our average customer is going to spend $10,000 with us, $500 is a drop in the bucket. And that's why it's super important to understand that number, because a lot of times we look at ROI as a direct correlation of when they hired us to how much we made, but the ROI continues with the lifetime value. And that's more of an operational metric than it is for something like a marketing agency, because we're focused on like performance from the first call. But it's something you need to know for your business, and will really help you understand your value of one customer. And it makes customer acquisition much more of an exciting game for you, because every customer you acquire, you know, it's another $10,000, another $10,000, and so on and so forth. It's just a matter of, it might be 3 years before you get that, or 5 years versus today. Operational metrics, these kind of tie in with these: phone booking rate, tech conversion rate, and I added review velocity because it's a very important ranking factor for LSA and Google Business Profiles. And review velocity is not get a ton of reviews and then slow down. It's the consistency at which you get reviews. So if you get 10 per week and all of a sudden you get 50, then you're back down to 10. It's more of getting 25 a week and evening that out over the course of a year. That's review velocity. And then marketing ROI metrics: marketing spend as a percentage of revenue. We're going to cover that a little later. Cost per lead, cost per qualified lead, and cost per book job. If you know these numbers on the left, coming up with these numbers on the right will be much, much simpler for you. These are really great things if you do not have someone internally that can handle this for you now, to get a virtual assistant. Someone that's $8 to $10 an hour, very organized, they work offshore. Get a virtual assistant and literally have them do nothing but this for you. Audit your calls, audit your numbers, and allow you to get the information you need to run your business better. That would be my number one tip for this stuff, especially if you're like, oh my God, there's so much here, I have no idea where to start. And that's where we can start hiring very inexpensive people who are really talented, and $8 to $10 an hour for them is life-changing in different parts of the world. And you can get really good numbers, so they win and you win. These are all questions to ask yourself. Feel free to take a screenshot and put this in the same AI prompt that you did, so you can ask yourself these questions. Put your answers out in that AI thread to help come up with a better business plan for yourself. I'm not going to go over all these, but these just kind of work you down the funnel as far as top line revenue, and then how many calls we need, and so on and so forth. So you understand, you can reverse engineer the plan, so you know exactly, and this should say 2026, but you know exactly what the plan is. You know how many calls you need throughout that time of year, based on your booking rates, based on your conversion rates, and so on. All right, I needed a drink before we get into, there's gonna be a lot of high-level tactical stuff here. Again, if you have questions, I'm gonna go over like the highest priority items in several channels. So feel free to put your questions in the chat, because we will come back to them. There's gonna be a lot of stuff here, and it's not done intentionally to make your brain melt. It's done so you know, and you've heard this stuff a couple times, and because this stuff is what's helped me grow on the trade side. When I was in the trades for 9 years, it's also helped me grow with Relentless Digital. We honestly have taken the same process and I've turned it into the same thing we do at Relentless Digital. We don't spend a lot of money on ads ourselves, but the things I'm going to share with you is we do a lot of. So make sure you take notes. Make sure you're ready to ask questions. So right before we get into that content, this is the question on everybody's mind. I've been asked this more times this year than I have in the 2 years prior once ChatGPT came out. So instead of me giving you just thoughts or feelings, which a lot of agencies are doing right now, you guys probably have seen a lot of that. You might have seen some things that looked or sounded scary. We're going to focus on people that have actually done studies and have data to back up this information so we can actually look at what the numbers say. So the first study was done. This actually is a little bit older of a study, and we'll get to some newer data here soon. This was done by SparkToro. They, the source down on the bottom there, it's a company that SEMrush owns. If you don't know who SEMrush is in our world, they're like one of the biggest digital marketing tool platforms that there is. I think almost every agency I know has a SEMrush account. And it looked at the percentage of active users who do traditional search, which you guys would know as Google or Bing, and how many of them are using AI services. And it looked over a period of like 16 months or so. And what it showed is that, I think this was like 332 million searchers. So it's a massive, massive data set, over 130,000 users. And it showed that people were adopting AI services, but they were also using traditional search. You can see the number down at the bottom here, 99.8% of users using Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT we're also using traditional search. So that was what was done in 2024. I did not find an updated study from the same company, but I did just interview a guest on the Service Business Mastery podcast last week. We haven't released that episode yet, unless you guys go to our YouTube channel. They had a study of 425 people who bought home replacement systems this year. Most of those were HVAC, but there were some like water heaters and some like electrical panel changeouts and stuff. And they surveyed these customers to understand a bunch of things. And the biggest one that my takeaway was one, how do these people find contractors? And two, what are they looking for? And as you can see, 39% of homeowners start with Google. Baby boomers so older generation prefers contractors they previously used. So the number 2 option after Google was contractors they previously used, so relationships. It's not listed on here, but number 3 was referrals and word of mouth. So when I mentioned we were going to come back to that, I can't remember who put that in the chat. What an opportunity for you guys to build better relationships with your customers when the number 2 and number 3 option have to do with who do you know? Because people still want to know that. They still want recommendations from other people's experience. They will go to Google primarily, but they still want those things way before they go to AI search. And if you look at tools like ChatGPT, it accounts for less than 3% of the 425 that bought systems, found their contractor from there. So a very small amount went to a tool like ChatGPT. They talked to people they know, or they went to Google. Other things, some of you guys mentioned pricing transparency in the comments. This was a big one. This was a really big takeaway for me. Actually, a couple things. So people are looking for price. And I've had some conversations with some of you guys on Facebook about this, because they don't know what else to ask. So they are looking for price as a number 1 thing, but it's because they have no idea. Like, to them, the box in the basement or the box in the attic is just a box they think it's all the same. They don't understand the value of your brand and great service versus a company that does terrible service and leaves their home a mess. They don't understand the difference. So that's why they ask for price first. That's why it's the number 1 objection when your team is answering the phone is, how much does it cost to come out? And the other thing is that 69% of this data set were searching for online price, but only 15% found it clear enough on what it costs to do whatever the work is that they want. And the reason for that is nobody puts it on their website. Nobody shares that information except for HomeAdvisor, Angie, a bunch of directory listing sites you guys have never heard of that I've seen through my research. And so there's a big gap there where you can take this information and become that person who is the transparent company and is sharing that information. Now, I'm not saying put your exact pricing online. I'm saying put what factors into the range and what is the range. On top of this, we've also done, actually, Chris was on here. She was at our Tap Into the Future event, and we did, I think, what does it cost to replace a water heater in Dallas-Fort Worth? And literally within like 4 days of that page on their website, their blog on their website going live, they were cited as the #2 option in ChatGPT by putting one article out there. And you can do that for every single vertical or service you offer, and it's not that hard. So just things to think about as you guys are putting together your strategy. Transparency is going to become a very, very big thing, because now people can just literally at the palm of their hand, they can get almost all the information they need before ever even hiring or calling your team. But the key of this is less than 3% are using things like ChatGPT to find contractors. So what does that mean for revenue? If any of you guys are with us and you have Searchlight or you follow the Searchlight blog, this was from October of 2025. They have a study. They have 1,000 companies in their portfolio that use their dashboards. A lot of PE companies, some of the big boys that you guys know in the trades. 0.33% of revenue opportunity has been converted through ChatGPT. That's through 1,000 companies, some of them very big brands. So very, very little. Now, that doesn't mean this isn't going to grow. So the next question is Google dying? And because that's the consensus, right? SEO is dead, Google's dead, it's going away. That's a great slide. So I want to show you guys what it looks like. And this is based on data from Google and ChatGPT and a couple third-party sources that put this data together as far as the number of searches done on a monthly basis in the billions. So just keep in mind, like this number, when you're looking at 8, that's 8 billion per month. Okay, so Google has continued to grow. They're at almost 14 billion searches per month on their platform. ChatGPT has also grown, but ChatGPT is about 1/7 of the size. And if you think about, I'll put this side by side for you guys. What do you like? Think about how you use both platforms right now. And not everyone's going to be the same, but I can tell you from experience how I use the platform. ChatGPT is my assistant. I very rarely search for any sort of company unless I'm doing research on there, because one, their reviews system is terrible. Their local algorithm is god awful. It just doesn't. I was doing some research for this webinar, and I'm about an hour away from Phoenix, and I was looking for a local AC repair company, and I was getting companies that were literally over an hour away from me. When I asked someone in my area, the algorithm is just not focused on local search. So if I'm looking for a local restaurant, I actually heard from a different marketing company, he used ChatGPT to find a restaurant when he was gone, and 2 of the 3 options were closed. Like they went out of business because it's not updated. They don't have the Google Business Profile infrastructure. So people are using ChatGPT more, but they are also searching on Google more. And there's a lot of noise out there that would make you believe that, well, because ChatGPT is growing, Google must be dying. And it's not that way. People are searching more and more often, and they're using ChatGPT for different prompts and different questions. So it's just something to keep in mind when you guys see that stuff, because a lot of it is noise and a lot of it's not true, and a lot of it's to sell you a new website or sell you a new service. So I know I'm probably going to upset some people by putting that out there, but this is real data from third-party sources. So I'm not making this up, and those are my theories, and I'm going to live and die by those. So where are homeowners looking for contractors? We mentioned this a little bit. I put a chart with that Mantle study. This was what it looked like. Google was about 39%, previously used 36%. Friend or neighbor, contractor's website, social media. This is a big one. Social media has grown quite a bit as far as search. And then some of it was if they have maintenance or membership contracts, big box stores, and AI search. So you guys can kind of see what that looks like. And for me, we run on the EOS methodology. If you're not familiar with EOS, essentially you focus on the highest leverage items, or the items that are going to make the biggest impact for your business. So if I'm looking at this and I'm sitting in your shoes, I'm looking at what can I do to take care of these top things, because I'll keep an eye on some of these other things, but I want to focus where people are actually at right now today, because that's what's going to move the needle next year. We talked about this a little bit. So what's really going on in search? They're searching more than ever, and that's because there's more content produced than ever. Look at YouTube, look at TikTok, look at Facebook Reels. There's more videos. I think YouTube put out a study. There's like 100 billion hours or something ridiculous put out every single day of content on its platform. So there's just so much content put out. People are searching more than ever, because if you want to know something, you just keep asking questions now, and you can keep getting the answers. So those prompts all play a part into the growth of a ChatGPT or a Perplexity. But when it comes to local search really hasn't been impacted nearly as much, because the Google Business Profile ecosystem is very strong and people trust it. Literally, I had to tell my in-laws 2 weeks ago, because they came down to visit, what ChatGPT was, and they still can't say it right, because they hadn't even heard of it yet, and it's been out for 3 years. So there's a lot of that going on too. So I just want you guys to be cautious when it comes to that, because I know there's a lot of stuff like rank on AI search. Well, that's great. You're going to be about 1 or 2% of the people. So focus on where the money is. All right, let's get into some tactical stuff. First of all, we're going to talk about local search and a couple of the different platforms that you guys know and how they all intersect and work together. So with Google Business Profile, location matters a ton. And what I mean by that is your physical map pin and where it's located. And this was a client where you guys can kind of see on the right-hand side where their actual physical location is. They wanted to rank in Bozeman, which is one of the bigger cities in Montana. And you can see what happens is they rank very well outside of there, but as soon as you get into where that outline is, the Google Maps definition of Bozeman, the ranking drops off. It's because their map pin is not inside of Bozeman, Montana. So it's very important if some of you guys mentioned multi-location strategy, or even your main, if you just want to have one location. If that location is a warehouse way outside of town, you are going to struggle to rank where you want customers. And that's just the truth. It's just, there's no way around it. That's the way the algorithm works. So you are either working with the algorithm or you're working against the algorithm. So just know that. And I would definitely do a search of your company, zoom out, remember where the map pin is, and then type in the city that you want to rank in and see just where you land, where your map pin lands. If you're outside of that, you're going to have a lot, unless you don't have a very competitive market, you're going to have trouble ranking inside of it. Primary category is the #1 ranking factor. It's been the #1 ranking factor for years, so choose wisely. And what I mean by that is you can also change it throughout the course of a year. This was a HVAC client. Their primary category was HVAC contractor. We changed it in April, right before air conditioning season, to air conditioning repair service. And then we also changed the landing page to their AC repair page versus the home page. And you guys can see the ranking improvement in a very short period of time just by giving the algorithm what it wants to see and making sure that our clients are set more relevantly than others. Your Google Business Profile name is important. If you guys are clients, you guys probably know this because we probably told you to get a DBA. Try to get a keyword in your name. Sounds really silly. Still an important ranking factor. Google is probably not going to do anything about this. So adding things like repair into your name in a very nonchalant way and getting the paperwork from your state to do so can definitely have ranking benefits for you. Service area businesses listings do not rank well. So this would be like home addresses, virtual offices, shared co-working spaces. This was a plumbing client that literally they had 2 SABs, their house and their main plumbers, their main technician's house. And you can see how they ranked before. Before we onboarded them, I told them they got to get at least 1 office. Before we started working with them, they got 1 office. We changed that right after their onboarding date, optimized their profile, and you guys can see within just a couple days a massive ranking increase just by making sure they had a physical office. SAV listings are also, they get suspended a lot more easily, and they're just a pain to deal with, to be honest. So it's better for you guys. I know sometimes it's painful to hear that you got to go to an office, but it does have benefits, and the benefits far outweigh the cons of this. Make sure you fill out everything in your profile, self-explanatory. Make sure this is something that happened about 1.5 years ago. I still see a lot of GBP listings that do not have their social media profiles connected. This is a real, like, we're going to get into some stuff that's going to make a lot more sense really soon, but Google is starting to index Facebook posts, Facebook videos, Instagram, TikTok. They're starting to, in their main page of search, they're starting to put different things there and connect those things. They used to be like walled gardens, if you will, where Facebook, you could only find something on Facebook. Google, you could only find something that was Google related. It's starting to become an ecosystem where everything's kind of mixed in together. And I'll show you guys some examples I found this weekend of this. But make sure you connect all of your profiles to your Google profile. It will help you. This is obvious. We're going to go into some strategies on and some of the best ways to do this a little bit later. This is going to help with that review velocity that I mentioned previously. And a couple other news and notes on the local search side. So one, if you have a physical location, you should absolutely get an Apple Business Connect listing or an Apple Maps listing. In order to do so, you're going to want to make sure that you have a Yelp profile, and you do try to get some reviews on Yelp, because Apple does not have their own rating system. They use Yelp for that information. And there's over 120 million Apple devices in this country. There's 3 of them in my house. I'm the only one that uses Android, and I get made fun of relentlessly because I have an Android and I'm the oddball. But there's a lot of Apple users out there, so having an Apple Maps listing is just literally low-hanging fruit for you. Even if you get 20 leads a year, it's free, and it's just a free potential opportunity for you. But make sure you have a Yelp listing that's updated and get some reviews to that as well. That will help you. ChatGPT isn't quite completely connected to Bing like it used to be, but it does pull from their local side. When you look for a local recommendation, it does pull from Bing places. So typically this is something like for clients of ours, we can connect Google Business Profile updates to Bing, and that's how we manage that. But it is something, if you don't know if that's being managed, go look for yourself on Bing. I know it sounds silly because not a lot of you probably use Bing, but ChatGPT pulls in from Microsoft and Bing. So just keep that in mind. And then I'll get into some AI search stuff here in the next slide. So I highly recommend taking a screenshot of this. We did an internal study. We have about 150 clients, and we track well over 1,000 keywords. And what we did is I literally brought on an SEO assistant to do these searches on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google with AI mode turned on to understand what websites they're referencing. And this was essentially the takeaway. First of all, there are a lot of sites listed down here, and maybe it's a little hard for you guys to read on this, but that's why I take a screenshot and put it into ChatGPT to get you a full list, or you can ask us, we'll get you a full list. But sites like todayshomeowner.com, I don't know if you guys remember Porch.com. Porch.com used to be bigger, like with Home Depot and stuff. 3 best rated, best pros in town, airconditioningup.com, plumbersofamerica.com. These are all sites that Google could care less about. And if you have a Yext thing with Service Titan or something to manage your listings, these are sites that those services cannot touch. These all have to be done manually. So in order for you to understand how you can be the right, especially if your AI search is something you're focused on, is you need to do the research. You need to research your company like a homeowner. Who is the best air conditioning company in my area? Who's the best plumber in my area? Do the same thing with all the different services you offer. But in the sources section at the bottom of that, click on it and make note of what sites are being sourced. A lot of them are these best of lists like expertise.com, 3 best rated, top 10 best plumbers in Austin, Texas, for example. You need to figure out what those sites are and try to get your business listed on those sites. The problem is it's all manual work. There's no way to automate this work. And I know a lot of you guys know that I do a lot of automation stuff. There's no way to automate it. So we, as a company, have to do this manually for clients as well. So we have to manually search all this stuff, come up with a list, and manually do the work. There's no other way to do it. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you a competitive advantage when it comes to AI search, because you're going to have your business listed on all the different places that they're pulling from. There's a reason why, as a company, we did a best HVAC digital marketing company list. We're going to do a best plumbing one. We're going to do a best electrical one, best roofing, because we're helping ourselves with the algorithm. And this is something I actually had a roofing client. We allowed us to test this on, like, top 10 best roofers in, I think it was like Keller, Texas. And he argued with me at first. He didn't understand why we did that. But then he looked at the results on ChatGPT, and he was number one, because he was the only company that put out a list like this for his market. So these are content ideas for you guys. I know it's mentally, it may not make sense. It may go against everything you've ever learned in your career. Oh, don't mention a competitor. Don't put them online. I'm telling you, this stuff is what's helping. So just take note of that. You can do with it what you want. But that's the sort of things that we're going to be doing as a company, is to move towards that direction of content, so our clients can be ranked in not only Google, but AI search. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, make note of the summary section. So this typically, like when they give the providers on an AI search, you want to make sure that you look at, do they cite Reddit? Do they cite Better Business Bureau? Do they cite reviews on those platforms? Or do they cite that this company wasn't recommended because of XYZ? Make note of those things, because those are clues. Search has never really been as simple as like actually getting clues from a provider. Now we get clues because they're actually explaining what is going into the process. So take note of those things, because those are all fixable things for your business.
Wait, are you still using 5 different tools to communicate with your customers for your home service business? 𝐻𝐻𝐼 Pro is your all-in-one marketing and sales system built for HVAC, plumbing, and electricians. And yeah, it even handles missed calls with auto text backs, AI reviews, and automated follow-ups. You don't need a bunch of platforms. You just need one that actually works really well. Start your 14-day free trial. Check the link in the caption and watch the demo while you're there.
All right. I mentioned I was going to talk about some stuff about Facebook groups, because I mentioned connecting your Google business profile to your social media network. So I was doing research this week, and this is the question I put in Google, and I saw 3 different Facebook groups on page 1, and I saw another one on page 2 for the same search. And that's what this looks like. And you can also see, look at this, is exactly what I saw. You can see all these different companies that were named. And I also saw this with Reddit. So what I'm telling you is that understanding and monitoring your brand online is becoming more important. This is not if I get to it. Someone in your company, and that someone may be you as the leader or owner, needs to be the person that's engaging in these groups regularly. Now, I'll share a tool, actually a couple ways you can do this. But this stuff is showing up not only on Facebook groups where people are looking, but it's also showing up on search engines. And Reddit shows up on both ChatGPT and Google. So it's very important that you guys pay attention to this and have someone that's monitoring your brand for you. Here's another example. And here's some social media to-dos. These are all things that I did a lot of in the trades. I've done a lot with out of the trades as a marketing agency. Engage with people in groups, but don't just put your company name. Is literally the worst way to grow your company. Is just call ABC Heating. Call ABC Heating every single time somebody's looking for a provider. You're not adding any value to the conversation. If any of you guys have seen me in the Facebook groups, literally I'm not saying it's the best way, but it's worked very, very, very well for us. Just do what I do. Ask questions, give them information, and don't ask for anything in return. People, it's just a law of reciprocity. They will be attracted to you because you didn't try to sell them, and they decided to purchase with you. And make sure that people that type the F, put following, put a dot on the post, ask them questions too. I've actually sold full systems to people who when I was at the last HVAC company, they literally would just put the F or put a dot or say following. And I'd start asking them questions about their system, engage them in a conversation, and we'd eventually get into DMs and book an appointment, and we ended up selling systems to them as well. And these are all free marketing tactics. There's no money, there's no agency needed for any of this. It's all there. It just takes a couple minutes of your time every single day to do. And then the last tip, don't post from your business profile in a Facebook group. That's a really great way to get banned. Post from your personal profile. Now, I mentioned monitoring your brand mentions and keywords on Reddit. You can do this two ways. You can do it through a tool like Zapier, which is an automation bridge. So essentially what would happen is if you're in some subreddit communities, like the one you guys just saw where it was like all about Phoenix, you can, anytime certain keywords hit that group, you can get notified via email with a link to the post, so you can go right to that post and start engaging just like you would in a Facebook group. You used to be able to do this with Facebook groups. You can no longer do it that way because Facebook got rid of their API, so you can't, there's no way to access it. However, we did partner with a company that allowed us to create Tap Recon. There's a link to this if you guys want. I think it's like $97 or $147 a month. TAP stands for Trade Automation Pros. It's a sister company of ours. And you can, it uses a Chrome extension, and you can monitor Reddit threads, local Facebook groups, Nextdoor groups, LinkedIn, if you guys are big on LinkedIn. And it essentially will just notify you when a conversation hits that's matching the keywords you set, and you can just go engage with the conversation. So that way you don't have to necessarily have Facebook open, refresh the screen and stuff like that. You just go to the conversation when it's happening, and then you can go about your day. Some more do's: automatically share 5-star reviews, showcase your work. Some of the stuff is pretty standard if you guys have a pretty big social media. If you focus on social media, for some of you guys, maybe it's not. Post images with your texts, that with customers, with yard signs, really easy stuff. Great engagement on this type of stuff. Post internal team meetings, post Christmas parties, post anything that you guys are doing that sets you apart. Because not only is this a great tool for you to get new customers, it is a really great tool for prospective employees to want to join your company. I can't tell you how many times I've heard when people come to interview us, they can't believe the stuff we put on social media and how great it is. It just gives them a whole vibe about our business because of everything that we're putting out online. And you guys can do the same exact thing. You just have to have some sort of consistent approach to it. Use video content. We'll get into a tactic for that here in a second. And make sure, this is such a low-hanging fruit, your personal profiles online, make sure it says where you work and what you do and who you help. It's crazy to me when someone engages me on a group, I'll go look at their Facebook profile and I'm like, I have no idea who this is. Or I get friend requests all the time and I'm like, if I don't know who you are and you don't own a heating and air, plumbing, electrical business, I'm not going to add you on Facebook. And I have no idea what you do. You're probably just going to spam or solicit me. Put what you do on there. I promise you it will help you. Feel free to take some screenshots of these. These are things I did when I was back at professional services. What you'll notice is, you see this Port Washington voice page. This was the biggest local page we had. I'm posting from my personal profile. So just keep that in mind. Posting from my personal profile in here, not the business page. And I am not asking for anything. I'm literally just, hey, the weather's going to be really cold. Here's how you need to prepare your house. And this stuff will get shared, liked, and shared around quite a bit. I have a couple more examples for you guys. Here's one where we're doing some training in the shop. I talked about why we do technical training every single week. This was the post. This is probably the closest I've ever been to going like viral. You can see it got shared almost 1,000 times. Again, it was cold weather thing. I had it ready to go and launched it, and it took off. I shared it to a bunch of local Facebook groups, and then people shared it all over. I think this thing literally made its way to like 20 or 30 different states. So you guys are more than welcome. If you take screenshots of this stuff, use the exact same content. I don't care. Use it. Have it ready for extreme weather events. Do the same thing for when it's really hot. If it's, you get a lot of rain or tornadoes or whatever the case is, have something prepared for all of these weather events. Put it out 2 to 3 days before. I promise you it'll do really well, and you're going to get looked at completely different in your market. what you guys are seeing playing on the right-hand side was that local Facebook group. I'll wait till it starts over. It was just recommendations for a reasonable heating and air conditioning company, and look at the results on this. We literally dominated our local Facebook groups because of this strategy. And I've seen other people do this. He's not on the call today. He's in Florida, Stephen Bates. He started implementing this as soon as I talked about it last time, and literally he booked 4 jobs within like just a matter of a couple days when it was hot in Florida this summer. So the stuff works. You just have to have someone to implement. Talked about content ideas, free tool. You can do up to, I think you can do like 3 searches a day on it for free, or you can upgrade and get like unlimited searches. Just type in a service line that you offer. This will pull questions that other people asked. And this is pulling from Google's platform. So it'll pull, why does it cost so much for an air conditioning installation? How do I hire a contractor? It'll pull all those questions, and you can pull them into like a Google Sheet, and then just start making videos, or start writing content, or start making Facebook posts answering the question. Or if your ChatGPT account knows enough about you, throw the question in there, have it answer the question and make a post for you. Whatever, as long as you guys are posting and taking that information, doing something with it, that's what I hope to get out of this webinar for you. Some of the stuff's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go over all of this. These are some don'ts on social media. I think the biggest one, especially in today's world, is stay away from politics, especially if you're posting from your personal page, because that can cause, we've seen that cause a lot of problems. Regardless of what your political affiliations are, just stay away from it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about that or religion. It's two most crazy. Like a lot of people know that, and they still talk about it on their personal profile. If you own a business, stay away from it. You'll be much better off for that. So we'll get to some paid stuff here next, because I know some of you guys will have some questions on that as well, but it's really important to get a strong organic foundation first. Your organic, and the reason you hear that, and the reason why people talk about SEO, and why so many people look for SEO providers, is your cost per lead is going to be a lot cheaper on the organic side. So when you decide to add a paid layer, or add paid media, or doing some direct mail, or some things that are more expensive, it essentially averages out your cost per lead. That's where you get that like $300, $400, $500 for a new customer. But you got to have a strong organic presence in order to do that, because if otherwise, what happens is you're going to get on that treadmill we referenced earlier on, and that treadmill becomes like a hamster wheel when you just throw money after paid ads over and over and over. You can't get off, and you're going to get at best typically a 5 to 6x return, which is not extremely profitable in trades without a strong organic foundation. So that's why it's so crucial. That's why we spend so much time talking about it, because if you have that foundation, you can add things, paid ads, branding, direct mail, et cetera, on top. So reason that most PPC campaigns fail is that people only set up one ad group for all services, meaning you lump everything into one ad group, so you can't really disseminate which ones are working and which ones are not. And same thing with landing pages. They'll do like one landing page for all of their air conditioning services versus one for like AC repair, AC installation, AC maintenance, and so on and so forth. You want to have separate campaigns and separate pages for each of those lined up, so you can understand performance. And then typically other reasons that they fail is there's no strong offer, especially on paid media. If you are looking to grab someone's attention, your offer is one of the most important things to do to grab their attention on search, to pull them in. And a lot of times I see offers that are just not that enticing. So the best thing you can do when you're looking for offers is go type in the service that you're looking to run ads for, and just see what the big companies are doing. Find the largest metro next to you. What are the big $50, $100 million brands doing? Because they've probably done some research onto what works well. Just swipe and deploy what's worked well for them, or change the offer slightly to make it more custom for you. And then the other big reason I've actually talked some people out of doing PPC with us is because their operations are weak. And what I mean by that is their call booking rate is at like 50%. Their tech conversion rate, they didn't know the number. Their average ticket, they didn't know the number. And if you don't know the numbers, one way to make sure you're not profitable is to just keep throwing money after something when you don't understand your operations and your numbers behind that. And it's a big reason why a lot of those campaigns fail, is we just don't know from an operational perspective how we're doing. It's an example of a landing page. We have a lot more of this stuff you guys can certainly take a look at. I'll show you guys our portfolio in a second. I'm gonna go over LSA real quick. There's not a lot to talk about LSA. There's a couple of things of note that changed this year for you guys. LSA verified reviews are gone. The only reviews they count are the Google Business Profile reviews, which is actually good news. They made it really complex for no reason. The Google Guaranteed badge is gone. They don't call it that anymore. You still have to get verified. It's just, essentially what happened is they got rid of the insurance requirement, like the $2,000 insurance policy in the back end. And so that's gone. Some of you guys may have realized this, some of you may have not, but Google is starting to offer or allow you to put offers in your local service ads. So make sure, if you have not checked your profile anytime in the last like 6 to 8 weeks, just go check and see if you can add offers. Essentially, that's like, you can put in things like free service call with repair, just ways to try to convert that traffic if they find your local service ad. It's not rolled out to everybody, so you may not have it in your profile yet, but keep an eye out for it because they have been rolling it out over the course of this year. And then as far as ranking factor things, reviews and speed to lead. Those are the two biggest things. Our clients that perform the best on LSA they ask in home for reviews, and then they have a follow-up system that we typically deploy for them, and they get reviews like crazy, and it helps their local service ads ranking. So there's not as much to do on that side of things anymore. You can't dispute leads. It's more of an AI-driven system now. So there's just not as much you can do on that side, but those things can definitely help. So make sure you're tidying up your hours that the ads are running, and make sure you always have someone or an AI to answer the phone at all hours that you guys run those ads. All right, now remarketing to our database. Thanks to Searchlight, the days of not understanding what the potential our marketing creates is over, because this is a hard conversation to have for marketing companies and contractors, understanding what is actually happening, what is the actual ROI, and what is the potential ROI, because marketing, essentially, we're trying to generate leads and we leave them at your front door. And once they get to the front door, that's when it's handed off to a contracting company. And then what you guys do with that lead from that point forward is really, there's some things we can help with. There's a lot of things we can't. And so understanding what happens after that is a really important thing, because marketing operations, they get treated as two separate entities, but they really should be treated as one. They have to work cohesively, otherwise you're not going to get the success that you want. So, and what this dashboard is showing you is, this is an older dashboard. I took this from a previous webinar, but our clients were averaging an 18.2x on closed revenue, but they had additional potential revenue. And when we partnered with Searchlight almost 4 years ago, when I started seeing these dashboards, it made me think, like, how can we, as a marketing company who isn't running the calls, who isn't answering the calls, help our clients try to close more of that business? Because this is a lot of money. You guys see this estimated revenue here? Out of 72 million, there's 37 million in open estimates. That means we don't have to necessarily go get another customer or go pay for more ads or go out and book another job. There's 37 million in proposed estimates sitting there. And so this is where we've gone to work, and we've kind of created an entire team around our 𝐪𝐻𝐼 Pro app, is to go back out and go grab more of what's already in your database. This was a recent one we did for a company in Florida. It's actually running right now. You guys can kind of see what that looks like. We're just outbounding to their existing list. They were a little slow before Christmas, and they offered a $49 heating inspection for anyone that they haven't seen in 2025. And this type of stuff, first of all, you'll see, if you do this yourself, you do it with Chirp or Hatch or whatever, Podium, whatever platform you use, it really doesn't really matter the platform. You have to personalize the message and stack the offer. I talked about offers with PPC. Offers are super important for this as well, because if I just said, hey, we have a $49 heat inspection, you want one? There's no value in it. What's going to make me move now? but we did put a limit of 20 spots. And then we also put, what does this cover and why is it important? Drain line inspection, common cause of water leaks in Florida. That might be something you want to get taken, that you might want to have to be looked at. And then you kind of see what that looks like afterwards. This all we do is reach out. There's a lot of customers that say yes. They want to hear from you. I talked about this was last month's webinar. And if you guys want to see that one, I put that on YouTube, or you can reach out to Nadine in the chat and she can send that to you. There's a lot of strategy behind doing this, but it's all about personalization. And this is kind of all of your CRMs in the trades have endpoints that you can pull from. You can see this one pulls, this one says fall 2023. It would actually look like June of 2023. You'd actually have the month in here. But you can pull this information. You can even pull the last technician that they saw. Hey, Sarah, it's Mike from Comfort Air. Dave was out in June of 2023. And you can automate this. You can take it on a spreadsheet, upload this stuff, and these messages all can come with merge fields. And then you can send this stuff out. So personalizing those messages gets a lot better response rate. A lot of people default to very basic campaigns, and then they say it doesn't work. And there's a reason it doesn't work. It's because it's not personal and it doesn't actually want, the person doesn't want to actually do anything with that message. It's just kind of white noise for them. Here's some other ideas. I'm not gonna go over all these. I did go in depth on a lot of these last month when we did a webinar. So feel free, if you guys are not on our normal webinar cadence, pay attention to that schedule and pay attention to that stuff, because we do put these out once a month. So I want to share a quick story with you guys, and then I'll get you guys a couple more custom GPT tools to create these campaigns yourself. One of the first times we did an outbound campaign was back in 2023, and this company had about 5,000 customers that they wanted us to send a $49 AC tune-up inspection because they were slow, and typically their market got busy end of May through the rest of the summer. And with that list of 5,000 customers, we ended up booking over 300 tune-ups. And that company did over $300,000 in revenue that they would not have had just by reaching out to their list. I want you guys to think about that for a second. We talk about shoulder season. We talk about, oh, we're slow or this or that. There are so many things that you guys can do proactively. You just have to have some tools in your tool belt. So I'm going to give you guys a couple tools. These are custom GPTs that I created. One is for creating text message campaigns. These campaigns are already going to they're going to have the value stacking that I mentioned and some things with scarcity and urgency in them. So feel free to swipe and deploy this. Just make sure in ChatGPT you add it to your sidebar. And then I have an email campaign. This is going to focus on making emails that are engaging, tell stories, and are not boring. They're not just going to be offer-based emails. They're going to have a story, which then turns into an offer at the end. But you're going to be able to create campaigns for any single type. Even if you want to just do a filter reminder campaign, you can throw that in here. It'll create a really great email for you. You can put that into whatever email marketing tool you use, like Marketing Pro or MailChimp or whatever. I love this quote because everyone wants to blame, and I say everyone, I'm not picking on anyone here, but I see a lot of people blaming a lot of other people for their problems, their mistakes, why their business doesn't work, why they can't get in shape. You are the master of your destiny. Stop letting everyone else control or having that control. Take it back and realize you can do things differently. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be. Okay, so just let that sink in. We're setting goals for 2026. It's important to, if we're setting goals, to have our mind right as well. And some of these things that I just shared with you guys can be really valuable for you guys to stop waiting for the phone to ring and go take action. All right, a couple more things. I'm going to fly through a few of these things. Some of these things are just critical elements to convert on your website. A couple big things for me is have some pictures and maybe some videos on your website of you and your team. It is, I've audited 20, 25, $30 million HVAC and plumbing companies, their websites, and there's not one single picture of their team. They just have their trucks. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. If your website does not convey that, there's a decent chance they might land on your website and bounce back and go find someone else. And that includes your internal pages, not just your homepage. And I'll get to that here in a second. All things, a lot of you guys have probably heard a lot of these things. So these are just reminders. Here's a couple really important things when it comes to your website. One page per service you offer. So that means I'm going to give air conditioning an example. AC repair, AC maintenance, AC installation and replacement, that can be one page. You can separate it if you want. Okay, so it's separate per service line. And then if for every single city you serve, you need a separate landing page on your website. So if you're an HVAC, heating and air conditioning are separate. So city A should have a heating page talking about your heating services for, let's say, Phoenix. Bad example, nobody does heating in Phoenix. And then an air conditioning page targeting Phoenix. And then for city B, same thing. City C, same thing. Same thing with if you have multiple trades. So if you do HVAC, plumbing, electrical, that is 4 location pages per city. So just keep that in mind. That is how you show up for near me searches. And I don't know if you guys remember earlier on in this webinar, I mentioned I was doing some research and trying to find some companies in Queen Creek, and I found George Brazil, which is a really big company in Phoenix. They had a location page targeting Queen Creek. That's how they showed up in AI search for my specific search query. So just keep that in mind. Use real photos of your team. Put more than one photo per page. Like, you should have 4 or 5, 6 pictures per page. Just doing that will put you ahead of 90% of your competition. And then highlight brands you use in your reputation throughout your website. You'll see some examples. We almost always put reviews and ratings at the very top of the page because those are the things that customers care about. We mentioned the consideration stage of your funnel. Well, when they get to your website, we want to make sure that they know you're a great company, and you guys should do the same on yours. A couple more examples, and you guys can go to our website, and if you want some inspiration or want to see some latest designs, things like that, feel free to check it out. There's a lot of we kind of split these by trade and everything else. We got a lot of different websites on there you guys can take a look at and get some inspiration from. All right. I know we've had a few people drop off. I know some people are, timing may not work, so it's going to get a little late. I do have some more stuff to go over. I'm going to try to go through as quickly and make sure I hit the high points. We talked about reviews. I said I was going to mention it later. The best ways and tips to increase reviews is through asking in home. I actually don't have my wallet in here, but I have a card that that's just like this. It's like an NFC chip where you just like tap it on your phone, just like you do with Google Pay and Apple Pay. Great way to get reviews. Great way to also share business contact information instead of business cards these days. Otherwise, doing something like I shared on the screen here. Best way to get reviews is asking in home, 100%. Now, the best way to get more reviews is to ask in home and then automate the follow-up. And I guess I don't have a screenshot with that, but we have a whole system for that. We've been sharing some results of that. We've actually completely changed our system. Some of our existing clients on here, you guys will have an updated system here later that we roll out to all of you. It's going to perform even better than what we've had previously. But essentially what it does is we take a picture of the owner of the company, and we can personalize the name in that picture for the first name of your customer. So it personalizes it. It puts a happy face with the ask, and we've been getting really good responses on the reviews that way. And we've even done that to launch some second or third listings for clients to get those up to 100+ reviews very quickly. Make sure you'll share these to your socials. This is automated, but this works very well, and they look very professional, very clean. And the reason why is Google reviews help you rank better. This was a HVAC company that launched a second listing back in 2023. We've done this many times since, but this is just, I don't usually pull the heat maps throughout the process. This was a case study that I did. You can see where they were before. 6 weeks later, we ran through about 1,500 customers in their database. They got like 40 reviews, and you guys can see what happened after we optimized it and they got reviews. And this was in April, right before heating season in this part of the country takes off. worked out very, very well. Okay, I do have some screenshots in here. So this is kind of what that review process has looked like. These are some very recent ones that we've done with that new review process we've been testing. It works very well. This is something that honestly, I think more companies should do like every 6 months. So after the end of every season, you're going to have your way that you ask in home and the way you automate to that point. But I would go back through that 6-month period, pull that customer list at the end of summer and the end of whatever the seasons look like for you, for your business, and go ask those customers, leave you a review. If they left one on Google, go ask them to leave one on Facebook or Better Business Bureau or Nextdoor, because those things all play a part, not just in Google search, but in AI search, because those are brand mentions. And there's no reason why just to have them copy and paste the review. You can't pay them to leave a review on Google, but there's no terms and conditions that say you can't pay someone a $10 Amazon or Starbucks card to leave one on Facebook or to leave one on Nextdoor, etc. So you can take the same customers and multiply the effort. All they gotta do is copy and paste the review to a different platform and they get $10 or $15 or however much you want to compensate. Here's a couple more examples. You see taking second locations and turning them into powerhouses really quickly. So and we kind of mentioned reviews on other platforms. They absolutely 100% matter. The problem is nobody thinks about it. All they care about is Google. Bing, which I mentioned earlier was connected with ChatGPT, uses Facebook and Yelp for reviews. And that's what you're seeing on the screen here. So just keep that in mind. Facebook reviews are not dead. I had someone the other day ask me, does Facebook even allow reviews anymore? Yeah, they still will have reviews on their platforms, more recommendations, but still, you can still get them. Apple Maps uses Yelp, as I mentioned earlier. And one thing I noticed by going through that big study with ChatGPT is it references the Better Business Bureau a lot. I know you all think the Better Business Bureau is dead, but they reference it a lot and it becomes their trusted source because they don't have their own local maps ecosystem. I mentioned making sure you have a Yelp profile that is updated, and it's because Yelp is still a major player in these other local search platforms. So make sure at least have a few reviews on there and you don't have a terrible rating. Last couple things before we get into budgeting, and I apologize. There's a lot of information on here. Nadine told me I had to turn it back and take some stuff down, but a lot of this stuff is really relevant. I want to make sure you guys have this information. So is lead flow really the problem most contracting companies have? This is the problem that we hear a lot. It's also the reason a lot of people get in our pipeline to potentially become clients of ours. But we have a lot of data that suggests otherwise. So I looked at over 220,000 calls from our clients this year. 44.1% of qualified leads were not booked. Think about that number and how big that is. That is a ton of opportunity. So that means the average booking rate across all trades, and I know, trust me, I know, your Service Titan probably says you book at 85%. I'm here to tell you your Service Titan is most likely wrong. And I can confirm this with other companies that study this stuff. Service Titan themselves have done a huge industry study. You can search that up online if you want. Our average booking rate is about 56% across all trades. It's not very good. And that doesn't take into account over 32,000 calls that were missed or abandoned this year alone across our client set. It's a lot of opportunity. So when you guys think about, do we have a lead problem? Now, it's true you might have a lead problem, but there's most likely some internal things that can be fixed. And I'm going to show you guys by making simple adjustments, a couple percentage points, how much of a difference that makes to your bottom line here in a second. And this is why these are problems. CSRs are not well trained. They're usually the last department that gets any love in contracting companies. It's not always the case, but usually it is. Leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes go cold. Average customer must be followed up with 5 to 7 times. And today's customer is multimodal, meaning they all communicate in different ways. Text, email, video, ringless voicemail. We have to consider all of those things for ways that they communicate. The solution is to leverage market. I remember earlier on I mentioned marketing automation is your superpower. leverage marketing automation to follow up with missed calls, web form submissions, chats on your website, and then automate the follow-ups after you've seen someone. So every prospect hears from you at least 5+ times, and they're able to engage in a two-way text messaging. Text messaging is so much more, it's so much easier for homeowners to use. They don't necessarily want to sit on the phone, they want to text. So make sure you have some sort of system where you can text back and forth with them. Here's some speed to lead campaigns. We set these up for clients that want them. Feel free to take a screenshot if you need ideas. And then I mentioned that CSRs don't get trained very often. So one thing that we did is we turned ChatGPT into a homeowner. And I created 2 custom GPTs. The one on the left is a CSR trainer, and the one on the right is an in-home sales trainer. Feel free to use these. They're completely free. And what you do with these is treat them just like a regular phone call or an in-home sales visit. And what I did is the training information that I provided it were some of the biggest objections that I've seen from my experience in the trades and talking with other coaches and industry leaders. So that way your team can practice these role play scenarios. And you guys can give it custom ones, of course, and train it the way you want it to be trained. And what's great about this, and actually Dawn, who's on the call, she does this for our own team. I created a sales custom GPT for her to take her transcriptions of her phone calls and score herself. So she coaches herself, and she regularly tells me the performance of her calls, and she's learned through that process. This will instantly give your team feedback on what they did well and what they could work on. And it's completely free. And they can even use, if you do the ChatGPT app on your phone, you can turn the voice mode on and talk to it just like you're having a conversation with a homeowner. Really, really powerful stuff. If you guys would like to learn more about how to create these or custom GPTs like this for yourself, just get in touch with me. I have a separate company with Tersh. If you don't know who that is, he's my business partner in Trade Automation Pros. We teach people how to build these things so they can build them for their own use cases and customize them to their own business. As far as the marketing automation, we can help with that. There are other great platforms out there. I've mentioned some of their names. They all work great as long as you're putting together personalized messages that, especially the offers, are value stacked. Any platform can work. It's just a matter of implementing those things. The beauty of having us do it is we can write the copy for you. You do not have to be a copywriter. We'll do that part for you and set up the automation. You just have to let us know what kind of offer you want to do. All right, almost done, guys. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This is going to be this might even be the most impactful takeaway for you guys once we run some numbers here. So last year, if you guys did this, I actually pulled this screen up and we ran through a scenario together. But make sure at the bottom of this screen, you guys take down this URL, save it, okay? I created this using a vibe coding tool, bolt.new, last year. And it's a way for you to do marketing and budget planning for yourself. And it's got a lot of different things that you can do. And I'm going to show you guys. I did a scenario and I took some screenshots so I didn't have to change my screens because I want to show the power of tying your operations into your marketing and just how crucial it is to make your bottom line healthier. So I put some scenarios up on here. Essentially, I'm acting as we're a $5 million company. So not too small, not too big. We got 10,000 calls in this year. Of those, 5,000 were leads, which is about the average. About 50% of all inquiries are leads based on the data we have. And I put the number in there too. I mentioned our average client booking rate was about 55, 56%. So we booked 2,750 jobs, which gives us a 55% booking rate. Of those, I said our technicians are really good. They close about 70% of those into paying customers. That's 1,925 jobs sold. I put in our average ticket of 2,500, which is somewhere around the industry average. Some industries a little higher, some are a little lower. And I said that we had about 12 employees. And when you put these numbers in, it helps you understand some of these numbers. These are all dynamic. So what it means is you enter something in here and it dynamically places the number at the bottom. And I put some numbers in here. So if our gross profit for the year was higher than 55%, this would be green. It goes red if it's not. Some of these are just industry benchmarks that I've always used in my career just to help you guys, because I also understand that everyone is at a different point in their journey. Not everyone knows what a good gross profit looks like, or a good net profit, or a good number of memberships. So I wanted to make sure that data, there's some learning here that you guys can kind of benchmark yourself. You can see the goal I put for net profit is 15% or higher. 500 memberships per million in revenue is typically what you want to see. And you don't necessarily need to adhere to the marketing spend goal. For me, I've always been, let's spend the least amount of marketing we can as long as we're growing. And that's why we put out so much content, because we know that that helps fill our funnel. But 8% or less usually means you're healthy enough to have a 15% or above net profit. And we also want to know our revenue per employee. It's a really important number for you to know as you guys progress in your business. So with that being said, let's say I'm a $4.8 million company this year. I want to be aggressive next year. So I want to grow 50%. So I put my growth target in this next field. That means my revenue goal for next year is going to be, it automatically calculates it for you. And then if I keep my gross profit the same, it means I'm going to have $3.6 million in gross profit. And I'm going to have, if I keep my net profit at 5%, I'm going to have 360,000 in net profit. So it does some of these calculations for you, so you can see what that business, that bigger business looks like, what the numbers look like. And then the really powerful part is understanding what happens when we decide to put more effort and emphasis on tracking our internal operational metrics. So if you remember, 50% of our calls are leads, 55% are booked, 70% are sold. Our average ticket is $2,500. Just watch what happens to our numbers if we increase our booking rate from 55% to 60%. Without doing anything else, we didn't get another lead, we didn't do a single thing other than fix our booking rate. We added 250 extra jobs to our calendar. We sold 175 more jobs, and we added $437,000 in additional revenue without spending a dime on more marketing. Just by fixing one operational metric in our business, and 60% is not even that good. I want to let that sink in for just a moment, because so many people focus on more leads, more leads, more leads. This is where the best companies operate from, right here. These metrics, and focusing and having a relentless focus on these metrics. Now, let's say we take the same scenario. We raised our booking rate 5%. Let's say we just either raised our prices, or maybe we got a little bit better at training our team to offer a little higher end options, and we increased the value of our average ticket by $200 this year. So again, no extra marketing spend, no extra leads. Just by focusing on small little incremental things, we added almost $1 million to a $5 million company. It's a lot of money. So it's just something I want you guys to think about. Feel free to play with this calculator. It's dynamic. You guys can enter it and play with it and do whatever you want. At the bottom of this screen, I didn't put a screenshot of it. I have a digital marketing budget planning, and I put some buckets down there as far as like what you should be spending on SEO, paid, social, branding, direct mail, things like that. Because the one thing that we don't want to do is we talked about the funnel. We do not want to put everything in the bottom of the funnel. We don't want to keep making that mistake. We want to put some other things into our social media bucket. We want to put some things into our branding efforts. We want to put stuff into our local community bucket. If you put everything into the bottom of the funnel, you're going to end up just where you were this year, and it's not going to be a good place. And you're going to end up with the same problems, and the business just isn't going to feel like it's growing. And that's really what the biggest thing I want to see for people. And it's not self-serving. We focus on the bottom of the funnel. So for me, telling you not to focus completely on the bottom of the funnel is completely against what we sell. But it is also the way that you're going to grow faster, and you're going to be more healthy, more profitable, and you're going to have more customers coming to you, wanting you instead of having to get 3 or 5 estimates. So play with this calculator. It's completely free. It's not going anywhere. Save the link so you can always come back to it. And if you focus on the right things, growth happens. So at the end of this, and I know you guys have been on this for a while, think back through this, write down your top action items. I know there was a lot here. I am happy to talk with any one of you about action items based on your specific circumstances, but make sure you think through and write these down based on what you heard today. I have a few more freebies, and then I'll open up to questions, because I know I really appreciate you guys sitting through. I know sitting for an hour and a half is not sometimes the easiest thing for you guys to do, but this is probably the most thorough checklist. Actually, I'm sorry, we actually have two checklists. This is something different. This is a workbook. This also includes some of the marketing budget planning stuff that we talked about today, and it's in a workable format for you, so you can print it off and write on it and color and scribble and whatever else you want to do on it. But feel free to download this, so that way you guys can work through that, or take it back with your marketing manager, marketing coordinator, and work through it together. All right, we covered all of this stuff. There's a couple more things I'm going to get to before we answer questions, because it's really important to stay up to date with the latest news and industry information. And if you didn't catch it in the beginning, and you like listening to podcasts, or you like watching podcasts on YouTube, our podcast is the second highest rated home service podcast behind someone named Tommy Mello, if you know who that is. So we interview thought leaders, tech companies, AI companies. We are focused on having some of the best conversations we can. If you really love local search, you're going to want to tune in live tomorrow, because we have Darren Shaw, who is one of the more renowned local SEO experts, going to be on our podcast tomorrow. I can't wait for that one, because I get to ask a bunch of nerdy SEO questions. But I'm super excited to have that. But tune into that. Just save it as a favorite, or subscribe to it. And then if you'd like to schedule a free strategy session, you can do so at this link here. This will also be sent out at the end of the recording. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else here. I'm trying to, my throat's getting a little sore from talking so much. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So let's move it over to questions. Nadine, I'll give you a minute while I get some water. Oh, Petros, I love this. By the way, your campaign, I believe, is just about ready to go for reviews, if it's not already running. So thank you for trusting us with that. There's several sources. I've used a company called Bruntwork, BRUNTWORK. There's another one that we use a lot. It's called EXO, EXXO. They're both, Bruntwork can source out of South America and the Philippines. EXO is out of the Philippines. Those two have worked out really well, good for us. If you want to hire someone direct, you can go to onlinejobs.ph. It's an online job board. You can post just like you would on Indeed and find one there. But those have been really great resources for us. All right, Molly. For outdoor lighting, the pricing can be all over the place. What do you think of showing various houses and what the price range would be? I think it's a great idea, Molly. I think instead of exact pricing, I think the way that this makes the most sense to cover, so you don't, first of all, you don't want to back yourself into a corner and be like, well, my house looks exactly like that one. You said that was $2,000. Why is it $5,000? Is give information about what causes increases in price or prices to be lower, and what caused it. Is it lighting? Is it the specific type of bulbs? Is it because people want their trees wrapped in lighting? Is it, what are the things that cause prices to increase and decrease? And that way you can give a wide range and also answer the question so they know. And then you can also have a call to action that says, if you want a specific price, you can give us this information. Maybe you have an online estimator that they can put in some information about the size of their house, what they're looking to get done. You guys can give a ballpark price via email after that point, which can stop you from maybe doing too many site visits and having some tire kickers and stuff. Those are some thoughts that I have on Jake asked, do you comment on Facebook as your personal self or the company page? 100% personal. I know some people combat me on this. I have told, I don't know how many, probably hundreds of business owners at this point. You know, say, well, I don't want my personal Facebook to be taken over by business. And my remark to them is, unfortunately, you signed up to be a business owner and you want to grow your business to provide for your family and your local community. This is one of the best ways for you to get the word out there is through your personal profile. So you have two options. One, do what I do and kind of intermix your personal profile with business, which has worked out really well for me. Or set up a separate profile, one for family and one for business. And you can do it that way. I don't like that idea because I hate switching between profiles, but there's a couple ways to do it. But always use a personal profile because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if they see your profile, they will look at who your company is, but they want to, someone that answers their questions, provides value. That's who they want to do business with. Great question, Jake. Sarah, when it comes to marketing past customers, what are the top 3 avenues or campaigns that a company could utilize and implement right away for higher ROIs? Great question, Sarah. Open estimate campaigns is a huge one. And I'm not just saying like follow up, like, hey, did you have a chance to look at the estimate? The best open estimate campaigns really are a combination of text message and email, because email is a fantastic nurture channel where you can share things like case studies of other customers like them, maybe some reviews, maybe why you're the best company to hire, or an educational piece about why it's so important to look at XYZ when you're hiring a contractor. It's a great nurture channel. So that's one. Outbound campaigns for tune-ups and inspections. One of the biggest mistakes I see with outbound campaigns when you're trying to drum up work is people will come up with offers like $50 off any repair. And to me, that literally feels like you blindfolded me, spun me around, and you're asking me to hit a bullseye on a dartboard that somebody needs a repair today and is going to say yes to that offer. The best offers are ones that almost everyone can partake in. So water heater flushes, plumbing or electrical safety inspections, tune-ups, anything that's entry level. So whatever the entry level inspection or service that you offer is, indoor air quality assessment or inspection, like a duct cleaning inspection. We used to do those for free. We did duct cleaning estimates and we ended up turning that into a lot of work. Things like that can be really great. And then review campaigns, because you'd be surprised when you get review campaigns. That's also a great opportunity when somebody leaves you a review to ask them if they know anyone else that needs a service that you offer. And we referenced that in that Mantle study, where the second and third biggest ways for people to find contractors is through who they know or a contractor they've used in the past. Staying top of mind for those people to keep recommending you is huge. So those would be my answers for those. I would love to know who named themselves the real Josh Crouch. This is great. I have no idea who that is. Laura asked, is it really important to go into Google LSA and mark jobs as book completed, etc.? Does that help or hurt your ranking in any way? I don't have definitive data, so I am connected with a couple people that are under NDA with local service ads, and they have mentioned it does help to fill that information out. So we fill that information out. I don't know to what degree. I'm just kind of adhering to what somebody else has told us, but I would fill that information out. We're actually working on an AI platform, which we should have ready to go in 2026, that will do this for clients really quickly, and also have automatic missed text message, or I'm sorry, when text messages come in or message leads come in, automatically follow up with those people 4 to 7 times. And then also if you miss an LSA call, follow up with those people up to 4 times as part of a platform. So we'll have something there as well. It's just not, I guess, really not relevant to your question, but I just want to make sure that was put out there, because this type of technology is coming, and be on the lookout for it. Whoever this is, message me afterwards. This is great. I'm glad you did this. This was hilarious. So I appreciate you calling yourself the real Josh Crouch. Awesome, guys. Replay is going to go out. All the free resources are going to go out. We'll separate that stuff for you guys. We'll follow up a couple times. Really appreciate you guys showing up. Message me anytime. It probably is Church Carissa. Message me anytime about